Duke, a 5-year-old Pomeranian, was attacked by a neighbour's much bigger dog and tore off a large portion of Duke's skin. Although he seems reasonably happy, Duke's been referred to specialist surgeon Dr Sarah Goldsmid at Sydney's Animal Referral Hospital to see if a skin graft is possible.
So I wasn't expecting when she described the wound, she said it was this big, which is most of the bandage, I think.
Dr Sarah and her team need to sedate Duke first to allow them to take off his bandages and see firsthand the damage for themselves. From there they can work up a plan for a possible skin graft.
Oh, I haven't done it yet.
But Duke's not being as cooperative as they'd like.
Needing an IV line, yeah. I think it's just going to be easier to manage him. He's needing an anaesthetic to assess his wound. And once he's sedated a bit more, we should take a little bit of blood and just check his pre-anaesthetic blood stream. You look beautiful, it'll be fine.
Make me nervous.
Just put them in up there.
After shaving Duke's arm, the IV or intravenous line is inserted by the nurse. Duke will then be anaesthetised, allowing Dr Sarah to take a closer look at the wound before deciding the next step.
There you go. Good dog, good dog. Good dog. What a good puppy. There's a bit of calcification on the arm, like that. Just on the side there.
When did this happen, Sarah?
A week ago, and it was closed initially, and then it will fall apart, but it might have just fallen apart anyway because there's a lot of necrosis, I believe, and then it's been to another vet and now it's come to us. You're right if I keep it? Yeah. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, fine.
We've dealt with worse, haven't we? We have. It actually is almost at a point where we could graft it. Today I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. There's a little bit of dead tissue. I'm just going to debride it and clean up what's left. And I would think it's going to be ready tomorrow. We almost have some skin still there. So where can we take from? Here? Got quite a bit of skin, so I'm looking for where we can take skin to graft from. So this is going to, it's too tight locally, so we're not going to be able to move a flap. So a flap is skin that comes from the local area and we rotate around or slide across or whatever. But we haven't got enough of that. It's too tight because the dog's lost so much skin. So what we're going to need to do is move a separate piece of skin from somewhere else, what we call a free graft. So we're going to move that from somewhere else in the body wherever we can save it and close that area. So we're going to find some skin, probably up from the neck. Look at all this spare skin this dog has. Up here, we'll probably take some skin from up here and then we can move it over and put it over here. And then it's going to attach to that lovely healthy pink tissue underneath and become new skin. You just have to make sure it grows in the same direction. It'll be beautiful. So I think I might just clip a bit of hair up here so I can see what we've got to work with. You see what I mean? Could do it like that. That's going to be better. So if we do this, I'll probably have to clip. You don't have to do it all now, but I can just. So we could take. Yeah, what have I got that can. Okay, let's just make a little graft, a little template. So we need basically about that much and about that much. So what that means is we need to be able to take enough skin from up here and be able to close the two edges together. So that's plenty, look at that. And we have a little bit extra at the end. So plenty of skin here to put across here. That's great. Look at it's even staying like that. So the dog will look a bit bald and have a little bit of a line of sutures up over the neck, but that's going to be great for closing it. Okay, so up here we're going to take a flap like this. So I need it right up the top because it's right up to his ears. So I'm actually thinking we might have to do this in 2 stages of positioning. So maybe position him like that to get the graft, and then I'll be processing the graft while you read position. So
Yep.
that's going to be the best way, I think. So we're going to start with Duke lying in this position, and then we're going to collect our graft from here and close that all up, and while I'm preparing the graft we'll roll the dog and re-prep it and re-drape down here. So we're just prepping, taking all the hair off, and then we'll be prepping with the chlorhexidine and the alcohol and the iodine. Can I have some 3-0 bias and 4-0 Declan, please? So I've already kind of measured what I needed, so I'm just taking what I can basically. So this is pretty much our graft. Yeah, so I've got the dog rolled, it's in sternal at the moment, then we'll have to roll it afterwards. I didn't actually check if there was a microchip in there. I'd have to have a look at that afterwards.
It's alright, it'll still be on it.
That's a funny thought. Just move the microchip somewhere else.
Where did they move?
Yeah, that's right. They moved themselves.
So, beautiful bit of skin. Done. So that's our graft. I'm going to put it over here for the moment. We'll keep it moist till we're ready for it. It's on a special skin graft board that we're going to use to take all the fat off it. We're just going to close our site here. So it looks like a big hole, but this dog's got so much spare skin that it's going to be easy to pull this together, which is great. So just as well his mum gave him a bigger suit when he was born than he needed.
Are they enough or do you want more?
I probably need a few more, I think. So I'm busy closing this wound and Iran's going to start preparing the graft. So the graft needs to be really, really thin. It's still full thickness skin, but there's a lot of, that's not just skin, that's a whole lot of fat underneath. So we need to take all of the other tissue off it and just have skin that you can almost see through, so really thin. And then the advantage of that is it allows it to not have too thick an area for the graft to have nutrition. The nutrition's got to come into the graft from the graft bed, so it needs to be very thin so it doesn't have to supply too much tissue. Sorry? Oh, you found the microchip. Should we put it back in? Microchip?
Sorry, I interrupted you.
That's all right. Tutoring is an art form. You have to be, I think, somewhat artistic to do it, to think like that. Particularly with this sort of thing, with skin grafting and reconstruction stuff. The fascinating thing is when you see the finished product, you know, you start with this great huge wound and we end up, you know, in a few weeks' time with a dog that has skin and is growing hair over a wound that was half its body wall size. Then it's pretty amazing. I think skin grafting is a fascinating thing.
I really like in humans they have to take partial thickness because our skin's so tight. So it's very difficult for them to take away a full thickness without leaving a big hole. Whereas in dogs, because they've got such a loose subcutaneous connective tissue, we can take a bit
Like this.
that, but still bring it together. We're lucky in that respect.
So in people,
to humans, yeah.
in people, they don't do it by hand like this. They have what's called a dermatome. So it runs like a shaver, like, you know, a shaver that people would use on their hair. It shaves off skin, like a kind of cheese grater, but really thin slices of skin, so that you have a sore bit where it came from, like a graze, and then that really, really thinner than paper tissue kind of skin is then used as a skin graft. It's definitely a different kettle of fish trying to repair skin in people. I think we have a much better job doing it with animals. And we don't have the issue with the cosmetic effect so much.
Yeah. So what's so special about the board?
It just enables you to spread it out, because skin has an elastic property, so if it's, as soon as you cut it out, you'll notice that the wound looks much bigger and your graft site looks much smaller, because it tends to all contract, which pulls the wound open and also makes the graft. So just so you can get it nice and thin and you're not cutting through the surface, it just spreads it out really for them.
So it's just a soft piece of wood, it's not...
Yeah, it's just, you can use
like balsa wood sort of thing.
that you can make sterile, yeah.
And you get it from a pharmaceutical company, or you pick it up from the street?
It was actually a skin graft board from a human hospital.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to mesh it? Or do you want to work out how big we want it first? Before you mesh it? Just,
okay, like this?
I think so, yeah. Just
My little fluff set.
how's the... Yeah, that's fine.
Will a little tooth be very sore for a long time? I know you'll get
No.
relief, but
No, because this area, the pink tissue doesn't have nerve endings. The skin graft doesn't have nerve endings yet. And really the only bit that'll probably be any more sore than he already is the neck wound. And that's no different really to any other kind of incision. It's all closed. It will probably be sore for just a few days. And he's on pain relief anyway, but it won't be significantly more uncomfortable after this graft than he was before. So Yasmina's being very careful about where she does the prepping, because we don't want to put Chlorhex, iodine or alcohol in the wound. It will kill tissue cells, and even diluted chlorhexidine, which some people use in wounds, can kill tissue cells and slow down wound healing. There's been a lot of studies looking at that. Really, really dilute Chlorhex, you'd be okay, but most wounds are much better just managed with saline on them. So salty water basically, because you will damage cells otherwise if you're putting anything stronger than that on. So that's why we're being careful to not contaminate the wound with the iodine. Thank you. So we're going to mesh the skin graft, in other words, make lots of little holes in it. And the reason for that is that in order for the graft to take, it needs to sit right down straight onto the surface and not be lifted up. If it bleeds a little bit or it oozes a bit of fluid and lifts the graft up, then the graft won't take, it'll die off. And so in order to give it basically draining holes, we make little holes in it, and it increases the chance of it taking. It also means that the graft can, if you don't have a lot of spare skin, you can make a small piece of graft fit a long way, because once you've expanded it, when you've meshed it, you can make it go a lot further. So it's kind of useful like that as well, but the main reason we do it is to allow the graft to sit onto the pink tissue better, not lift up. Can you just hold this towel clip for a minute? So, all right, so we're just going to make a template. So I might do it in two separate bits. So we'll It's not even that size. So we don't need much for something like that anyway. Something like that. So that's roughly our templates. Got too much skin, have we?
Never.
Yeah, which way's the hair running under there?
Turning that way, I think.
Running from that way, so it's going to go like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we want the tissue, so we want the hair to come back this way. Look at that. Perfect. So I suggest we cut it across here. Need less for this.
Give yourself that bit for the isthmus, maybe.
However it'll be. Something like that. I'm meshing it, in case you're wondering.
Got a new show idea. Master bed.
I bet you make great pictures.
My surgery rules.
There we go.
I'm already in that one.
What, between David and me?
Sorry, so what were you doing there with the poking?
So I've made the mesh, so you see the little holes?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So now we've got this lovely little cheese grating look. This one I think I've done, but you can't see. Alright, plenty of skin. Okay. Did I do that bit? Yeah. Alright, yeah, so we'll just... Sorry if I get you. I did trim a bit off yesterday, just off here. There's a little hair there. So I'm just freshening up the graft side. Down here I was wondering about just trimming that so it's also not so nice looking skin when it's... Yeah. So we might just trim that little bit. So I just need to have the bed that I'm about to lay this graft on looking its best, and the edges freshened so that it's going to abut right up to the edge of that skin. Did you wipe the blood off my face, please, that I splashed myself with? Before I get filmed. Did you get it?
I think so.
Thanks.
We got you doing something.
Good. Beautiful. Now they will be looking like I need my mop my browners.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's pretty good. What do you reckon? So, the moment of truth. I'm keeping that one there for a moment. Make sure I get it the right way.
Yep.
Okay, so we're just going to lay the graft roughly where it's going to go. Oh, it's beautiful fit. It's like made for it. Like a glove. So, that looks beautiful. You put something over that. So we're both going to start suturing. Now my guess is that it looks like the hair's going to be darker than
Yeah.
It's going to have
Although it's a bit darker up towards me.
Oh, okay. So it's going to have a funny kind of darker patch. But that's okay. So now we just spend a lot of time suturing. And we're using absorbable sutures. I think 4/0 would have been better, you're right. Can we have some 4/0 bias in 2 packets, please? So maybe just the major ones around the outside we'll use for the 3/0. This looks bigger than the... So it doesn't matter if we don't get all these sutures out later, but we will... The owner of this dog has had a skin graft, or the partner of the owner of this dog has had a skin graft. he was asking me about how to keep it. They had all this elasticated dressing on him afterwards and stuff. Yeah. He wanted to know what we did with the dog. Those are good questions, I thought.
We do need to protect it a lot for the first, usually 2 to 3 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah. And particularly the first 3 days are really critical. If it moves in the first 3 days, you probably lost it, which is why I keep them in hospital. So on the legs, when we have to free graft onto the legs, I usually splint them to keep the leg immobilised somewhat. Because it's very hard to stop a dog walking around even in its cage. So it's kind of helpful to have 2 of you working on it together.
A lot of stitches.
I can't believe how well that fitted. It's beautiful. Well, I can't believe we measured it, but still. We also will put several sutures actually through the graft, but we're just doing around it at the moment because we need it to be held down onto the tissue. I find it amazing that it takes on the open wounds, like we talked about yesterday with the ones that we put it straight onto the surgery site. That's really cool that it'll do that.
If you're available, please contact reception. Thank you.
We can make that on a bit tighter. We'll just make it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that might be a good idea. You can trim it in a minute. Can we have 2 more packets of 4O, please, of bison? Thanks.
Do you have any idea when that paper that you're wishing will...
Oh, it's already out. When did that nice old tumor paper come out?
Yeah, David and Jasmine and it would have been probably close to 18 months, 2 years ago, I think. The first lot of cases came out.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Where they published?
I can't remember what journal they...
Is that in the ABJ?
I don't think it was the ABJ. I think it might have been a journal script surge or something.
Look, spare skin.
I'm sure David will remember which journal it is.
Seems like a waste, doesn't it? Oh. Times like now that you're glad you can suture quickly, because it gets boring otherwise.
The veterinarian that only has fractals, and they don't do any surgery and stuff. How often do they get to see any of this? They don't really, do they?
A lot of vets have never seen a skin graft. And a lot of vets would never, they might have read about it or seen it in a talk or, had a case they wanted to do it in, but not a lot of people have done one or seen one.
We end up with a lot of cases where people have said that the leg needs to be amputated as a result of the injury. And I think unless you've seen how bad an injury can look initially and how good it can become, I think it's hard to believe that you can get some of the results and save some of the legs
that we save.
That we do, yeah. Because they can look terrible after the initial injury, and even for the first week, if you're doing bandage changes, they can look really, really nasty. And it can be a long process.
I've had some spectacular legs, of feet particularly, that look like there's no way you're going to save that. And we've pulled them together. They may only have 1 or no toes left, but they're functional. They have a leg that they can use. And I think, we're able to do those sort of things because we've seen what can happen, how amazing the body is at coping. I think that's why people come to a specialist, if they want to kind of go with that ability to and we always say at the beginning, you could spend all this money and do all this work and we still end up with an amputation, but they're prepared to do that for the sake of trying to do the best thing. How are you going with the dog, Ismina?
Yeah, it's fine.
Temperature, okay?
Temperature's quite low, 34.5.
We have,
Thank you so much.
yeah.
And I'll make sure I warm it up in recovery.
Yeah. So I'm just testing to see how stable it is. If I move it, it's not moving here. So we have to do something up here, but it's having a little bit of stretch in it is actually good to hold it in. Okay, I'm going to work on the next bit. Okay, can you just confirm the hair is going in
Towards you.
that direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Concur.
You concur.
From underneath going upwards.
I've got too much skin, but apart from that,
Let a little, when we trail a bit up.
it's going to look funny. Yeah?
Yeah, I like.
Can I have another 4-0 bison, please?
This is just incredible.
Oh, I'm amazed. I mean, I thought, oh, that little bit of skin's never going to fit
Yeah.
all of that.
Good, hey? In fact, I have spare skin. I don't know where it went, but I have some. There it is.
Dr. Weller, she's available. Please contact reception. Thank you.
So is the whole wound covered now?
Yep.
It looked huge. It was huge.
It's magical, I tell you. This is why I do surgery.
Because we fix things,
I
yeah.
know, and you fix them almost instantly. It's great. I'm not into medicine because you have to wait to see if the medication works or, you know, if their test results are better or whatever, but I don't have to wait. It looks good straight away. Instant gratification. It's true. Maybe some in the middle, yeah. Do you want to have a look? If you just look over here so I can show you. I just need some sutures in here and a couple more around the edge. But it's pretty much, it was here particularly that I've tacked it down because it was like a divot just around the edge and around here and then a few in the middle.
And how do you
Here I think
do
I've,
you want a vest on? Like a vest?
I think that's going to move more than the, I think the way it was on.
Just around.
If you
behind
think
the
it needs to
forearm.
go around the front, one front leg, that's fine too, just one wrap. Yeah.
Alright.
But yeah, just those extra sutures. Looks good.
Do you want Opticin, Gelanet, Melanin? Gelanin as well?
No, just
Melanin.
just the melanin I think will be fine. Not too much opticin. Last one went a bit soupy.
Try him upstairs, Barbara.